Welcome back. This film is from one of the world's great directors, based on a famous Japanese short story from 1922, told from multiple conflicting perspectives with eye-catching cinematography in beautiful black and white. It is Rashomon from 1950. The title, which translates to Main City Gate, has become a popular cultural reference. The Rashomon effect, which describes how different people can have very different perspectives of the same thing or event, much like the proverbial tale of a group of blind men describing an elephant by touch, as a rope, as a tree, as a wall. The moral being that humans have a tendency to claim absolute truth based on their limited subjective experience, as they ignore other people's limited subjective experiences which may be equally true. The film's narrative is derived from the short story In a Grove by famed Japanese writer Ryunosuke Akutagawa. When you begin exploring classic film, one of the first names that you will come across is Akira Kurosawa, the director of this film. But it is both Kurosawa and Toshiro Mifune who are inseparable as the drivers of this film's appeal. After training as a painter, Kurosawa entered the film industry in 1936 as an assistant director. His years in this role were invaluable, allowing him to dabble in every aspect of film production. Kurosawa learned about editing, set decorating, costume design, and working with actors. Kurosawa has said, unless you know every aspect and phase of the film production process, you can't be a movie director. A movie director is like a frontline commanding officer. He needs a thorough knowledge of every branch of the service, and if he doesn't command each division, he cannot command the whole. For Kurosawa, filmmaking combines everything. That's the reason I've made cinema my life's work. In films, painting and literature, theatre and music come together. According to his family, Kurosawa rarely thought about anything other than films. Even when at home, he would sit around silently, apparently composing shots in his head. He debuted as a director in 1943, and due to his obvious talent was soon allowed greater creative freedom. Drunken Angel in 1948 was made without studio interference and marked his first collaboration with Toshiro Mifune. After working in a wide range of genres, Rashomon marked his international breakthrough. It won the top prize at the Venice Film Festival, showcasing the richness of Japanese cinema to the West. During shooting, the cast approached Kurosawa with the script and asked him, "What does it mean?" His answer was that Rashomon is a reflection of life, and life does not always have clear meanings. Kurosawa has a number of trademarks as a filmmaker. His shots have a painterly composition, perhaps thanks to his early training, but it is something that makes his films a joy to watch. He uses weather, usually rain, to heighten mood. His characters are frequently driven, they frequently do fail, but in the process learn important life lessons. And there is a recurring distrust of memories and nostalgia. These are all hallmarks of Rashomon. Kurosawa and John Ford had a shared admiration for each other's work, with Kurosawa citing Ford as his primary influence as a filmmaker. Ingmar Bergman was also a huge fan of Kurosawa's films. Kurosawa's taste was eclectic. He was a fan of Sergei Eisenstein, Jean Renoir, John Huston, Federico Fellini, Theodoros Angelopoulos, Sidney Lumet, and greatly admired the original Godzilla film, considering it one of his favourite all-time films. Although the Japanese press tried to paint him as a tyrant, almost all his cast and crew agreed he had a cool and detached presence on sets, describing him as intense. Kurosawa and most of his cast and crew members worked together repeatedly. He was infamous for his perfectionism. Amongst other requirements, he asked all the actors in his period films to wear their costumes daily for several weeks before filming started, so that they would have that lived-in look. Rehearsals were extensive, having actors repeat their lines and gradually proceed to the movements, all done with costumes and makeup, then repeating everything on set, including the camera movements and the lighting. Toshiro Mifune is the other key element that makes this film great. On discovering Mifune while casting Drunken Angel, Kurosawa said, "I'm a person who is rarely impressed by actors, but in the case of Mifune, I was completely overwhelmed." The admiration was shared, as Mifune in turn has said that I am proud of nothing I have done other than with him. Mifune and Kurosawa became the most prominent actor-director pairing in all of Japanese cinema. A dynamic and ferocious actor, Mifune excelled in action roles, but also had the depth to plumb intricate and subtle dramatic parts. He is best known for playing gruff, macho characters with a crazy laugh who claim to despise human weakness, but who end up frequently displaying it themselves. Mifune also said of Kurosawa, "He taught me practically everything I know, and it was he who first introduced me to myself as an actor." Kurosawa has this ability to bring things out of you that you never knew were there. It is enormously difficult work, but each picture with him is a revelation. As a result of the attention that Rashomon attracted, Mifune would become the world's most famous Japanese actor. The film introduced a number of innovations. It was the first time a camera was pointed directly at the sun. It included very early use of the handheld camera technique, seen when the camera follows characters closely through the woods. Scenes were often shot using multiple cameras, filming at the same time, making editing and continuity easier. And it consists of 407 separate shots, more than twice the usual number for other comparable films. When lighting parts of the forest, cinematographer Kazuo Miyagawa used a full-length mirror to bounce the light through leaves and trees to make it look more like natural sunlight. Miyagawa later called it the most successful lighting effect he had ever done. Rashomon was initially a failure in Japan, but following its win at the Venice Film Festival, it attracted a much bigger and wider audience. The film was acclaimed by Japanese critics with high hopes of box office success in the West. It did become the highest grossing Japanese film at the US box office and would hold the record until the release, somewhat ironically, of Godzilla. The film was often credited as the reason the Academy created the Best Foreign Film category. Directors like Federico Fellini, Woody Allen, Saoirse Ray, Ingmar Bergman and John Huston consider this as one of their favourite films. Kurosawa's films have always been much more popular in the West, and he is revered by American and European filmmakers. They remade Rashomon as The Outrage, The Seven Samurai as The Magnificent Seven, Yojimbo as A Fistful of Dollars, and The Hidden Fortress as the original Star Wars film. Rashomon is ranked number 4 for non-English speaking films in the critics poll conducted by the BBC in 2018. The film is included in Roger Ebert's Great Movies list. Premiere magazine included amongst the 100 most daring movies ever made. Numerous American TV shows have had a Rashomon episode where the same series of events is remembered differently by various characters. The film is included amongst the 1001 movies you must see before you die, and Kurosawa himself has been voted as the 6th greatest director of all time by Entertainment Weekly and Empire magazine. Now, these are all great reasons to watch this particular film, but I'm recommending it just for one particular simple reason. I absolutely loved it. Kurosawa is a great director, and I think this is his best film by far. So what I'd encourage you to do is go to our website, find our virtual screenings page, find the link to this particular film, click on it and watch it, and please come back and let us know what you think about the film. I think it's wonderful. I think you will think it's wonderful as well. It's one of the great films of all time. And then we'll see you again in the not too distant future for our next classic films review. Catch you next time.